Right there. Ain't that issue?
Yeah. Bong bong.
That mic on over there?
Yes, on.
Go. Yeah. Go to
Here
you go.
go to
Thank you.
YouTube. See if you can hear. It. Be able to hear. It. As long as we can hear it, we ready to go.
Solid.
Jay's house.
There you go. Get me there. I'm on
It's
YouTube.
Jay's house. I mean, y'all are following me, right?
Yeah.
One of them mine?
Yeah.
Gotta be.
I have my sneakers in the car, but I ain't feel like going to.
Yeah, I know. I seen them last. Them joints tough.
Thank you. But I was gonna put them up there with the rest of the stuff, but I don't want people to think I'm making them.
Pretty creative. Who you didn't make them?
I did make them.
Oh, so you're not making them for other people?
Think that I'm making them for other people. I might make one more pair and auction them off at the end of the month.
Okay. But you're not making them for like
For
for the market. They ain't market. They ain't selling for the market.
I don't want them to.
Why not?
But they already $50 for the sneakers. Then I gotta charge somewhere between $30 and $40 to even make a profit.
So the sneaks is 50.
And then my rhinestones, it's time to put the rhinestones.
So what, 80?
Yeah.
So just at some point just test it out. See what motherfuckers is willing. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta test the market out. You feel me? In my bag right there. Just bring that bag back here, please. You gotta test it out at some point.
So hard to get you hour pay.
I don't know, bro. I'm computer illiterate. That's why
too much stuff on YouTube.
I gave it
When I
to
go
you.
cigars, I gotta go cigars and conversations at E Square.
That's why I gave it to you.
It's a long
If I go
It's like
cigars
an
and
old club.
conversation,
Right.
Right there.
Right.
If I go cigars and combos,
Right.
I gotta go the whole title. Cigars and conversations.
All that.
And
Yeah,
then I might
that's
get the E Square to pop up.
Did you ever check your DM? Your DM? Your messenger? All
No.
right.
I
I was just telling you to order when me and Fresh first caught up. I'm saying you order. I'm listen. I'm gonna hit you, man, because you know what I mean.
I can work with my truck.
Yeah. All right. Say less. Let's say less.
You was going against my feelings, though.
Yeah. No. Oh, most definitely.
President Ho,
Most
we ain't
definitely.
playing them kind of games,
Most
man.
definitely.
We ain't playing them games.
I'm a man of my word though. So you know what I mean. I owe you.
I got you. We'll have something else to. Shit, Gerard one time was.
I need this, though, when you done. I got my I'm good.
Good. I don't want to back up.
Let me make sure my lip gloss is popping.
Oh snap.
Bring this one in. Babe, set it up, Ice.
Look at her lip popping. Mm-hmm.
That's what they gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
Oh snap. Oh, you hear that?
All right now.
Ready? Hold on, let me get a couple pictures from Jay's house.
Give me a countdown. Give me a 3,
We
2.
already drunk, but I just got the logo up.
I feel that.
The logo,
All right.
logo.
Say less.
I want to get a couple pictures of Jay's house. Just so when she start talking. See if I can put that in.
Of the stuff right there.
You can do, man, you can do
Where's
that
your
too.
phone? Where's your phone?
My phone is right here.
no.
I send it to Facebook, or send it because I can download it faster because the phone because I'm doing it.
My phone is on here. So that's why I said
Okay.
That's
all
what I
cool.
said,
No problem. I can't send them, though.
You can take it with mine and send it, but I need my phone right back because I got questions in my. You know what I'm saying.
You got it? All
You
right,
sure?
You
All
already
right.
got it up.
Say less.
That was all. I was just gonna go there.
All right.
No, this ain't the time. I'm just after the
What?
bottle and say less.
You ain't bring it for me?
No,
That's the
because I gotta
bullshit.
get red.
What should I be talking about? Why you gotta get red?
Long story. That's all I can say.
Way too much, son.
No, we was talking
Face
about.
big enough. I'll be losing it.
Little ass face. Stop playing.
You ain't
Shit, little as a motherfucker.
Picking up weight because my
got
elbows
shot
are
at
people.
product.
Little in the mood.
Oh
We
yeah.
got shot at her. We got shot at everything.
Okay,
I
well
got
that's
my
for
shot
sure. We
at Cuervo.
good. We good.
Oh Lord.
Listen, can somebody handle my bill?
All shots. Shots. Everybody.
How y'all feel?
Yeah, no doubt.
They don't know us like that.
Nah,
They don't
you
even
know
know
what
us
I'm
like that.
It works. It works.
Give me the main 3-2.
Okay, so
We just gonna. I'm gonna look at.
which one is one and which one is what? You won.
Two.
Okay, got you. You won, you two. And the one is just on Miss Monet.
Yo, I'm
Got you. All right, so
Yo, I'm hurt too.
Yeah, from the shut.
Oh yeah, that's right.
No,
You feeling all right?
today I feel better.
Okay, that's good.
That's
That's what's up.
Later on. I did work from
Nah,
No.
That's the dining show.
Dinosaur, just hook that up a little bit, you know, so just make the shot better.
Turn it back. Turn it back.
You can see her in the shot. She ain't in this shot.
Yeah, I know.
That's her. That's hers right there.
A little bit more.
Yeah, nah, I'm saying, but when you put the shot up, I can see her.
Well, turn it, because she on the joint.
Matter of fact, just zoom in on him. Cause that'll be on him. So, just zoom in on him.
Okay, so have one-on-one.
Yeah, zoom in
All
on
right,
him.
well, can we just have one-on-one then?
Just zoom in on him. That'll
Just like that.
Up top.
Yeah.
Thing on top, yeah, right there.
There you go.
8 ammo.
Blingo.
Blingo blowo, and then
Blingo Blower and Bamo. All of them.
we doing some things,
We
fellas.
got the thing. The shot right.
Cause you can, yeah. I'm proud of us, fellas. I'm proud of us.
True.
I'm proud of us.
You don't gotta do
man.
nothing. You good. You don't gotta do nothing, Malay. You good.
I'm proud of us, man. I'm proud of us.
We good. We fixed it.
I'm proud of us, fellas. And thank you, man.
Thank you, man, for your patience.
I just go over there.
appreciate
you.
We're gonna carry you back there.
Oh, yeah? You said wait?
Okay, well, I'm saying we already up on YouTube. I'm just gonna
Oh,
got the logo up.
I don't know smoke.
All
I don't
right.
know problem.
Okay, give him the countdown.
No, you ain't. You ain't lying.
I am. I never go.
Yo, what up, good people? What's up? Fire and Ice Podcast. Your boy B Matt. We got Fresh Fire, Ice Melly, BBDP in the background holding us down. You dig?
Blackfield Jack now, baby.
Listen, yo, we got something special for y'all tonight, man. We got a special guest, a friend to the show. This magnificent young lady is the CEO and founder of a nonprofit organization called Jay's House Incorporated. And Jay's House Incorporated focuses on youth autism, right? This young lady is a true asset to the people. Her assets fill a void in an overlooked population of society, especially in the Black community. So we're gonna touch on that today. We're gonna speak on that today. I want to introduce y'all to this special young lady right here, Miss Monet Cunningham.
Hello.
Give it up. So, Miss Monet, welcome to the show. First
Thank
of
you
all,
for having me.
no doubt. Thanks for blessing us with your presence, right? So, tell me about Jay's House Inc.
Okay, so first, I started Jay's House because I have an autistic son.
Okay.
So Jay's House came from the needs that I had as a single mom or a parent, period, of a child who was diagnosed with autism, and I
Okay.
didn't know what it was.
Okay.
So that's how it started.
Okay. All right.
And from there it has just grown. And we're just trying to get the word out there that somebody's out here to support
Right.
and fill the gap and be a listening ear to those parents.
Tell us about tell the people about exactly what Jay's House Incorporated does.
So
What's your
basically, we have a lot of functions. We're advocates. We're resource connectors. We have a few therapists, not just for the children, but for the parents.
Okay.
We're a family-oriented organization, and we support families on the whole.
Okay.
So that's what we do.
That's deep. So if I have a child with autism,
Mhm.
right, and I need help because I'm overwhelmed, and I reach out to Jay's House Inc., right, and we connect, and you put me on to your counselors, and exactly what is Jay's House Inc.'s goal for helping a parent like myself, if I was a parent of a child with autism?
Our goal is to make sure that the families are supported in
Okay.
whatever way they need it.
Okay.
Some parents, it is the lack of resources, and they're like, all right, so if we can't get this type of support, is there something that fills the void of that to still get us, whether it's supporting the child or even just supporting their mental health as a parent?
Okay.
So if we kind of feed off of the families, whatever their needs are, we ask them right now at this moment, what do you feel like your needs are? And then we let them list them, and then we basically check them off one by one. And
Okay.
whatever resources we have, we start, sending them to them and making referrals, and we just go from there. So we hold their hands. A lot of things again that I didn't have, bringing my son up.
Okay.
So
pretty much, as you know, what you guys do is you pretty much lead the parents, the family.
right,
You guide them through the process.
right.
Of,
And the ultimate goal is for them to be successful in
Okay.
whatever that means to them.
okay.
Sometimes
Okay.
it's just to be able to take the child with them to the grocery store.
Got it.
So perhaps we've given them tools and methods to get that accomplished.
Okay.
So for them, that is a successful moment.
Okay.
So we want to create a lot of successful moments where the families on the whole are just okay. You know what I mean? We're adjusting, we're creating new norms. And just, like I said, whatever success is to that family, we want to make sure they reach that goal.
That's pretty dope. So, most of us, we're driven towards, certain causes and certain things. We become advocates of certain areas because of what we've been through ourselves, right? And you kind of just touched on it when you said that your son is autistic, right? So, how did you, I have 3 kids, right?
Mhm.
So, I don't know that as a parent, I don't know that I would be able to, see my son or daughter and say, damn, I think,
Right.
they're autistic. Like,
Right.
is this something you discovered on your own? Is it something that the doctors had to point out to you? Like, when did you notice that your son was extraordinary?
So basically, my son was born typical, but about 5 or 6 months, we realized my son couldn't hear.
Oh, okay.
My grandmother
Wow.
was an old school grandmom, and she was like, hey, he can't hear you. I remember in my apartment, he was sitting on the floor up the hallway, and I'm steadily yelling at him. Like, hey, come, play. What you doing?
Right.
Never responded. So my grandmom said, that boy can't hear, baby. He can't hear. And I said, Mom, he can hear.
And grandmoms know. Let me just
They know,
put it up.
period.
Grandmoms know. Okay.
They know.
Right.
So I got in his face, and he started smiling. So at that moment, he can't hear.
Right.
So him not being able to hear turned into all of these, a whole gamut of situations. So
Can't hear, you can't talk.
right.
So
So we found out he couldn't hear at 6 months.
Mm.
It was fluid behind the ears. They didn't want to do surgery till he was 11 months. So our first surgery, I'm like, hey, I'm naive. Oh, cool. He'll get tubes. He can hear. We'll get him back on track.
Right.
But what happens is infants in their first year learn all of their sounds.
Yeah.
They learn
Yeah.
the coo. They learn all of the fundamentals of speech.
Mhm.
He missed that. So, unbeknownst to me, there was a delay already.
Okay.
So, at 11 months, he got tubes, and then we started sign language. At the time, there was Delaware Curative for Children.
Okay.
So, the pediatric department. So, we did sign language, speech, and sign language, we verbalized, and we visualized. So, if we said apple, we would show an apple,
Right.
we would sign it, and we would say it.
So you signed with him
Yes.
until he was how old?
Till he was 5.5.
Wow.
My son couldn't speak till he was 5.5.
I know it's not it's difficult having your child not being able to speak,
Right.
but in my mind, being able to sign is like dope to me. You know what I'm saying? Like
My
I
kids
know
started
people who
using
know
it
sign
against
language.
me. So I have an older daughter who's 6.5
Right.
years older than him. So he could talk at 5.5.
Right.
But when I would say no, he would sign to his sister.
Wow.
And she wouldn't know that I said no.
Right.
So she would get it. And I would see her walk by my door, and I'm like, you don't eat that. She would be like, well, Jay signed it to me.
So I
So
hate
she
to,
would give it to him.
I hate to cut you off, But that leads me to another point. So, you know, I think I think the perception in communities is that autistic children or people
Mhm.
are slower. That right there tells me that he was very far advanced. He knew that
Yeah.
mommy said no.
Right.
So let me go here and say boom,
And let
boom,
me sign
boom.
it so she don't hear me.
And my sister
Yup.
is gonna give me the apple, the snack, the fruit,
But
whatever
you know
I'm
what?
asking
But he
for.
did that too. When he couldn't speak around 2 or 3, he would bring me the picture of juice
Mhm.
to let me know he was thirsty. He would bring me jam because he wanted toast.
Mhm.
That was a hard one because I'm like, jam, it could be peanut butter and jelly.
Right,
It could just be jam. It
Right.
didn't have to be toast. So we kind of wasted a lot of food, unfortunately, because it's like we're toasting it.
Yeah,
Maybe
you're like,
you
I don't want
this.
toast. They like,
And then we're like peanut butter and jelly, and he's like, eh. So we went through that whole spill with him.
so it took some adjustments.
It took a whole
Okay.
lot of adjustments,
Okay.
and
Wow.
as a single parent, I couldn't see myself sending him to daycare, knowing that I don't understand him.
True.
And then I can't send him into a daycare with teachers who have multiple children,
Yeah.
and they don't have the
Yeah.
time
And he'd be off
to
in the
sit
corner
with
somewhere.
him and say, oh, well, let me keep guessing as to what it is he might want to play with
Right.
today.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, so I had no idea that
Wow.
him not being able to hear would turn into a developmental delay, which would then put him on the spectrum.
Wow.
I had no idea.
Wow.
But by 3, he was fully diagnosed.
That's wow. That's a lot.
Absolutely.
You know, as a parent myself, I can only imagine the stress and the heartache and the all the
But
emotions.
you know what? You don't even get to. For me, I'm a fighter, like for my kids. So I didn't even get a chance to be emotional about it.
Okay.
Like I immediately went into, oh, okay, so I got to figure out how this works.
Right.
Like it took me until he was 10 years old or 11 for me to grieve the idea that my son was not a typical child in the sense of what this world is compiled of.
Right.
I didn't get a chance to grieve until he was almost a teenager because I had seen so many specialists and so many different aspects of this, and a lot of it is overthought. Like overthink because we're like, hey, this is our kid, we want this. They gotta eat like this, they gotta learn this at an age, and they gotta when you have an autistic child, you are not the adult. You are like a co-parent because they don't see things the way that we see them.
Right.
Like somebody asked me, one of my uncles said, who's the adult and who's the child? I said, right now, we both the adults.
Right,
like,
absolutely.
What do you want me to do?
Absolutely.
I don't know what he feels because he can't verbalize that I don't like that or I'm uncomfortable. It's too many people.
Right.
He would act out, you know. At 5 years old, I took him to a grocery store. I'm thinking nothing of it. He's chilling. He started sucking on my left ear because that had became his defense mechanism to let me know that it was too much going on.
Wow.
Too many people, something was overstimulating him, which means that he had to figure out a way to soothe that. So some children flat, they beat themselves or they hit their head. That's an overstimulation. That means that it's too much going on and they can't mentally process. Like all of us sitting here now.
Right.
Somebody can sit next to us all having a conversation and they can still focus on their conversation and still hear all this other stuff going on. They can't compartmentalize that. So it turns into, hey, it's too much going on. What do I do? Like
they kind of go in panic mode.
Right. And they gotta figure it out. So for him, sucking on my left ear was it. And I was like, hey, he's
the left ear specifically,
not the left ear, not the right ear.
Okay.
The left ear.
Shout out to the left ear. Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, come on. So again, now that's a whole nother process because he's learned how to soothe.
Right.
But that's inappropriate at 5 and 6 years old.
Right.
So
and probably kind of funny too.
It was like I've had plenty of people like, what is he doing? Is he whispering in your ear?
Right.
And when I go to turn my head, because he's still pulling, he would be sucking and pulling.
Right.
And I'm like, he's sensory, like he's self-soothing.
Yeah.
And some people understood and some people didn't. I was like, don't worry about it. He's autistic. Like, and we kind of did that. And initially they used to do this. They don't do this anymore. When we first found out he was autistic, what happened is there are categories that children fall in.
Okay.
And if you fall into the category in more than one way, then you're kind of like solidified, whatever that is, right?
Okay.
So my son fell in all of them, not just one specific. So they classify him as PDD NOS,
Okay.
which is pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified.
Wow. Okay.
So what that did was created an umbrella for him in school. So he would get the resources and things until we figured out where he would land.
Okay.
Would he be typical and catch up, or would he be autistic?
So this may be a silly question,
Mhm.
right? So as far as schooling goes, did he go to the same school that we might have went to, or
No.
did he go to a school specifically for
Children
kids
with
with
disabilities or intellectual disabilities. So he's been in a typical school, and he's also been in schools that are for intellectually delayed or autistic children.
Okay.
My son's case was always different to me than what I experienced from other parents, because my son doesn't present autistic. You know
okay.
how some children, when they have a disability, you can see it.
Yes.
My
Right.
son's behavioral issue was he could tune you out while looking you dead in your face
Right.
and never move.
That's pretty dope.
Like the teacher will call, can you move? I need you to act. And
Right.
he's like this. He ain't thought twice. He ain't hardly blinked. He hasn't done anything like that, right? So now he's disrespectful. And I'm like, hey, what do you want him to do?
Right.
You would prefer that he flip this over? Or would you prefer that he sit here and not do anything?
Right.
So we tried a lot of different environments, but I think the biggest issue was his social emotional display
Okay.
or lack thereof.
Okay.
He doesn't understand the idea of people. He doesn't understand crowds of people. He doesn't want to. And one thing people don't realize is that he has generalized anxiety. And if generalized anxiety, and I guess to some degree, any anxiety is not addressed properly, especially in kids
Mm-hmm.
that have disabilities, it can become a paranoia. I didn't have any of these things, so I didn't know.
Didn't understand.
Right. So again, he's older. We're in the store, and it turns into, well, we need to go. Something's going to happen. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So he
he would say this.
Yeah. So
Okay.
he believes that if we're in a crowd of 1 million people, if something's going to happen, it's going to happen to him.
Right. Okay.
Nobody else.
Okay.
And so that's a lot. And it's that one spot in his life is a lot to deal with in itself, because there's nothing I can say
Right.
to soothe that. It's nothing any therapist can say
Right.
to help him understand that it's okay. It's nothing. We've tried it all.
Let me ask you this, because I know that, like I have relatives and I have, friends who have kids, and, they speak a lot about ADHD and hyperactive, and at any time did a doctor or, psychologist try to tell you, oh no, he's just, he has ADHD, here, take this medicine and, go about your business.
But what they did do is, I went through a program when we were first trying to figure out what was wrong,
Okay.
if anything. And my first encounter with like the negligence and the ignorance that they thought I maybe had
Mm-hmm.
was we had him evaluated, and the young lady said, oh, he's partially delayed. Here's a packet. The packet was sign language. He was 1.5.
Right.
So my response was, lady, there's nothing partial about me teaching him a language that I don't know.
Right.
That's pretty full time. That's like
Absolutely.
a full.
Absolutely.
So at that point, I got a second opinion, and I went to AI, and I found out my son was a year delayed in expressive language, meaning his ability to express what's going on,
Right.
and a year and a half delay in receptive, meaning how he perceives and receives what you say. So they affect each other, right? If I don't understand what you're saying, then my reception to you is not going to be appropriate. So when I say, how's your day? It's done. That's his answer, done.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it's a good or bad thing,
Right.
but it's kind of like,
It's
what did
over.
you understand what I said? Or do you really mean that it's just done?
Right.
It wasn't good or bad, it's just done.
It's over, and I'm cool
So,
with that.
right. So that's kind of where we went. And that's what a lot of parents, I encourage my parents that if you go to a pediatrician or specialist with an issue and it doesn't sound remotely like what you just asked them, as far as what their response is to you,
Right.
you have a right to get a second opinion.
Right.
Right? You have a right to keep getting these opinions because your insurance says so, right? And you have a reason, you can question it. These are your children, right? I question everything.
Right.
If I come to you and say, why is my son's toe swollen? And you tell me, oh, he needs a tooth pulled, we got issues, right?
Right.
Because them two don't line up.
We need to get to.
We need to get to
right.
what I just told you about
Right.
his toe. If you don't know, then tell me.
So it sounds to me like, first of all, it sounds like you're a huge advocate for your son,
Absolutely.
which is awesome.
Mhm.
It also sounds like, a parent of a child with autism needs to be a huge advocate for their child,
Absolutely.
because a lot of times your child doesn't know what's going on, and even if he knows what's going on within himself, he doesn't know how to
Convey it to
express
everybody
that
else.
to
Yep.
other people. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So it's really important that
We're all they have.
absolutely
And it becomes another job
right,
outside of being a parent. You're a parent, then you're a teacher,
Right.
because now you have to sit with these teachers. And that's another thing, as they get older, you have IEP meetings, which are individualized education plans.
yep,
So these meetings are gruesome emotionally if you don't understand what your rights are as a parent.
right,
Right? So when we go into these meetings, we sit and we think, or I did, I can't speak for anybody, I thought, okay, we're at this round table, we got therapists, we got specialists, math, English, reading, whoever, this is what they do.
right,
So if they're saying, hey, he needs to be here, these are the goals, these are the benchmarks, this is what he's doing, what he's not doing, I'm thinking, you know what's going on, cool, let's sign this thing and keep it moving. That's not what happens. A lot of times we get snowed because they have these things on paper,
right,
but it's cookie cutter. You probably did that with the same child before. So
Right.
now when my son's not performing, it's not that he's not performing where you thought he should, because it wasn't about him. This is from little
Yep.
Billy down to
you're
in
expecting the
his
same
classroom.
results, right,
Right.
right,
So the IEPs, what I've learned are that the schools have a lot of red tape, and I understand.
okay,
There's not a lot in some aspects that they can do
okay,
to treat our kids individualized, right? But IEPs are federally bonding contracts.
okay, wow,
I don't care if that say my son got to pee every 5 minutes. If that's what we agree to, and it's on that paper, and everybody signs it, guess what? My son better be in that bathroom every 5 minutes.
Right.
And the minute I find out that he's not,
I got a
we're
problem
going to
with that.
have problems.
Absolutely.
And we're back at the table.
Right,
And I've done it. You're supposed to have 2 IEPs a year. One a month or two when your child starts school. And that's because they get to see where your child is without any guidance, with the class, and they get to, how does he move? How does she move? Then October, November-ish, we're at the table. They're like, okay, so he functions like this.
right,
This is a certain, lunchtime is bad. It's a
Mhm.
lot of people. Math time, he's struggling. Oh, but reading, he's really good. So these are the times that we sit at the table and it's an evaluation.
right,
I had 17 in 1 year. And it was because my son was verbal. He didn't know what was in the IEPs, but he was telling me things that he was allowed to do
okay,
that were not in my IEP.
wow,
So
okay.
at me addressing it, and I'm not saying that parents should go out and do these things, but sometimes when you are not you're not being heard, and it's constant, sometimes you got to get radical.
Absolutely,
So after IEP 10 or 14, I'm already like, yo, I need to move how I need to move for my kid because you're not.
Yeah, something got to change.
Absolutely, right? So my son comes home, he's got a silicone bracelet on. I'm like, oh, you had a good day. You've been in the prize box. Go, boy, high five. He's like, no. And I said, well, what's wrong? Like, well, this means that I can walk the hallway and go to the bathroom by myself. I said, oh, really? Oh, okay. What else did you learn today? And then he starts talking. So me, again, don't do this at home. I went into the office. Well, I email everything that you do with the school district or anybody needs to be in writing, documentation, that you addressed it, you said something about it, whatever. I email them, so I have a discrepancy. We need another IEP meeting. He will not be back in your doors until we get another IEP meeting
about that.
So I can figure out why this happened. So I'll be picking his homework up every day at the front office. So everybody's experience is what it is. Mine was terrible. And I just think that it was because, again, my son didn't present. So he's in this small classroom of 5 or 6 kids called emotional support. It's not emotional support.
Right.
These are where the kids are that might do a little bit of everything. So my son is experiencing things and he's getting in the car and I don't want to go to school. I'm like, yo, we're still on school grounds, buddy. I haven't started my vehicle, anything. He doesn't want to go back.
Wow.
Because has internalized what he saw
from these other kids.
And he didn't respond at that moment.
Right.
But he got in his safe place with me as his mom.
Right.
And now his whole day has turned into my whole evening.
Wow.
Which has now turned into a meltdown that is keeping me up all night.
Wow.
Thank you. Right? Because now I'm concerned because he's begging me not to go to school. It's keeping him up. I can't realistically send him to school in the morning because he's just going to be at 5 o'clock, 6.
Right.
So now it creates.
And you don't know what's going on there that he's having this issue with.
I have no clue. But again, parents, we all have to follow our intuition with our children. Each autistic, developmentally delayed, whatever the disability is, our kids give us signs.
You just got to pay attention to them.
You got to pay attention. And it's not the parents' fault sometimes because life is what it is, right? You got to work. You got to pay bills. You got to provide. Sometimes the rigmarole of life doesn't allow you to pay attention.
But let me say this, and I hate to cut you off, but I want to add something real quick. It's not always the parents' fault, right? But I want to add this because, and this is from my experience with, relatives, friends who have kids who, may have went to their kids are hyperactive, right? And in my opinion, most kids are hyperactive.
Right.
They want to, they got energy. They got to channel the energy, and they want to do something. And if you got them sit in the house the whole time, they're hyperactive because you ain't sending them outside. You ain't taking them to the park, that kind of thing, right? So a lot of parents, they'll go to the doctor, and doctor say, "Oh, you got ADHD. Here, take these pills and go home." Right? And they get the kids the pills, and now the kids are like this.
Like zombies.
Now they're zombies. Right? So, in my opinion, a lot of parents, not a lot, but some parents use the ADHD, they take it and run with it. And they use the medicine as a babysitter.
Right.
For lack of a better term, right? Oh, if he or she is over here in this little zombie vegetative state, I ain't got a parent. I can chill and do my thing and blah 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 blah. So
what the misnomer with that is,
right?
The medication doesn't always make you zombie-like. It depends on. Okay, so I'll say this because I thought the same thing. They never put my son on medication. I asked for something for him to sleep because he's never been a sleeper.
Right.
They couldn't give him anything because he never presented as a behavioral.
Okay.
But once you start giving them medication, it alters their hormones. So I could see stuff I never saw from him. The misnomer about medication is that you give it to them and they're zombie-like.
Right.
That's not true.
Always. Not always true.
Not always true.
Right.
It's the dosage. So when people are saying, oh, he's vegetative, because he probably should be on 1 and he on 5. Right? So in my experience, and I thank God for my medical team, in my experience with anything dealing with that, it's always been a wean process.
Okay.
So let's start with half a pill
Okay.
and go. So my son, we tried clonidine, which is for blood pressure,
Mm-hmm.
but it relaxes you.
Mm-hmm.
We started with a half a pill. It worked for 2 days. Then we went to a whole pill,
Right.
and it just stopped working. Like it after that couple days, a half a pill, it didn't work.
His body
Now,
just
who's
gotta
to say that if I
accustomed to
went
it.
more,
Right.
that he wouldn't be like this or sleep all the time?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's so
And
many
that's
intricate
known
things.
for putting
Yeah.
you to sleep. But
Yeah.
you know, my point of even bringing that up was, you know, a lot of parents will use the ADHD as an out,
Right.
and they use the medicine as an out,
Hmm.
right? So you know, I just wanted to personally commend you, right, as a parent, because you didn't say, okay, well, give me some medicine. Let me,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Let
because,
me get that out.
because that's
if you offered
easy.
it, let me get it.
That's
right.
the easy way to say, yo,
Right.
give me the medicine. Let me send him over there in the corner here, man. Take his pill, and you go ahead and let me, you know, go here and get on my phone and do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, you know, the fact that, again, I go back to the fact that you are what's your son's name?
Jaden.
The fact that you are Jaden's advocate, Jaden's biggest advocate,
Mhm.
is huge. And I think that a lot of parents need to take note of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? As opposed to thinking about themselves, well, damn, I don't want to keep dealing with this, and I don't want to keep. Well, what about the Jadens of the world? What are they going through?
But you know, I think, yeah. So I think that a lot of that too is the lack of
Understanding?
understanding and the lack of support from your team.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
you know, the doctors don't ask us, "Are we okay?"
Great
The
point.
doctors don't ask us,
Great point.
how we're feeling. Do
Great
we
point.
understand fully what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
Do we understand that it's life changing?
That's a great.
Whether
That's a
it's
great point.
on a mild scale or like you got to stop your life type situation.
Right.
They don't ask us. So I think that the parents may feel left out. I know I did, but it's all in your upbringing too. Like, it's just life. As a parent, I watched my parents grind it out, whatever that was for me. So I didn't see any difference. I
Right.
just saw that this guy here needs me a little bit more than my daughter.
Absolutely.
But I'm there. And then my daughter chimed in. Like, he would be up at night and I'm like, go to bed, you got school. She's like, nah, I got it. I'm gonna go get whatever. So she would do stuff to soothe him or help.
It's
So it's all in.
It's funny you
Your
it's
support.
funny you mention that, because that kind of segues into my next thing I was going to address. You know, I can imagine as a kid, right? If I had a brother or sister, you know, who's
Different.
you know, or autism has autism or whatever,
Right.
and they're getting all this extra attention.
Right.
I was a jealous kid. I was a baby for a long time, so I can imagine that I
So
would
was I.
be jealous, and I would feel some type of way about that.
Right.
Doesn't seem to have been an issue with your kids.
No, it wasn't. My
Can I get a
kids,
Coke? Oh,
my children are far apart. So my daughter and my son Jaden are 6.5 years apart.
okay.
And my son Jaden and my youngest child are 10 years apart.
Okay.
When it was just Jaden and Paige, which is my older daughter, they were so far apart that their needs were different.
Got it. Got it.
So at 7 years old, her needs are not his at a year old.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that's where she never had room to say, oh, you're giving him more attention
Right.
or whatever, because her needs as a 7-year-old girl were met. Sleepover,
Completely separate from whatever
girly
he's
stuff,
going through.
whatever.
Right.
It never impeded on her, even in high school, where he's, what, if she's 16, he's 10?
Right.
She played 4 sports.
Wow.
If anything, for her, and I think she realizes it now at 21, if anything, me having him made me more accessible to her
Gotcha.
because I was home.
Gotcha.
So it was no reason
Gotcha.
why I missed anything for her. Never missed a game or practice. Mom, I forgot something at home. We lived around the corner from the high school.
It'll be there in a minute.
I'm there.
Right,
Jay,
right.
get your little video game,
Right.
bro. We out. We be right back.
Right.
Okay. Grab his video game. Long as he can video game,
Right.
had a handheld, he was out. That was when he was younger. He a teenager now.
That's
He'll
pretty
tell
dope.
you quick, you sure you need me to go? I think I could chill here. And I'm like, all right, dude, you got it. You home, you good. Now he's 14 and
Okay.
he's about to turn 15. And the difficulty for me is he's a boy. He's a male child.
Right.
Him being autistic doesn't negate the fact that
He's a
he's
boy.
got this mustache that he
Right.
sees that I keep laughing off and saying, nah, it's dirt, baby. You ain't washed your face.
Right,
And he's like,
right.
no, mom, that's hair. I'm turning 15. I'm becoming a man. And I'm looking at him like, you're becoming a what? And he was like, we'll talk later. And then he
Oh
disappears.
my! Not that we'll talk later and disappear, look.
That's what he does.
Wow.
So, for me, everybody had their place and their time
I
and
got
their, you know what I mean?
I
And
got
even now, everybody has their place and time. So I don't know what it would have looked like if they
the
were
same
closer
age.
in age.
Right.
I
But
know.
you didn't have to find out, so that's a
Right.
good thing. That's a great thing.
I know
A great
that
thing.
as a parent, I would have tried
Mhm.
to make sure that she didn't feel slighted
Of
by
course,
him.
of course.
I always, ask her if he had to go to the hospital. He had other health issues. Like he's had 6 surgeries to his ears because he didn't like the way the toothbrush felt. We've had 3 surgeries to his teeth
Wow.
because it was hard for me to floss. He didn't like how that stuff felt. So we did that.
So you got to make them as comfortable as possible.
Yeah, and the difficult part is not making your children do typical things. Like when it's time to sit down and eat, I don't know how many parents I've talked to that says, we eat as a family. I feel bad eating, and he's not eating.
Right.
And
Right.
what my thing is, because I've been there, they'll eat when they're hungry. If the food is there, they will eat when they're hungry.
Right.
Your 6 o'clock time is not theirs.
Absolutely.
Oh, he's just eating
Absolutely.
macaroni and cheese.
And that goes back to your, I'm the parent, but
But he got to
Yeah.
dictate.
he got some say in this.
Boom. My only concern is that, and maybe a lot of people know and some people don't, tidbit of information. A lot of kids at that age like macaroni and cheese.
Right.
It's soft.
Right.
I encourage parents when their kids are like 2 and 3 and they start just eating macaroni and cheese, you have to give them a consistency.
Right.
Whether it's a hot dog or something that you smush up and put in there, because if
Right.
you don't use the muscles,
Yeah.
you lose the use of them.
Yeah.
So that's the concern that I said you need to be. There's no concern about the eating. They'll eat.
Right.
As long as they're drinking, the doctors will tell you. As long as they're hydrated, they're cool.
Cool. Okay.
So
Okay.
those are the things that we as parents are like, he eat all day. But wait till 9 o'clock.
He crushing
All of a sudden, I want all that. Give me all that. You didn't eat. Give me that. I need that. And it is what it is.
Everything.
My son's on his own schedule now. I don't know when he eats. I just know it's missing.
Wow.
And it's
and
a
you
note
assume-
on, right.
Yeah, I took this.
It's a note on the door.
Good looking out.
More nuggets, more curly fries.
Grocery
Then
list,
I know.
grocery list type
Right.
joint.
Then I
I
know.
can dig it. So let me ask you this, because first of all, let me say, even though I have friends who have kids with autism, I didn't know a lot about autism.
Right.
I watched your video, one of your like the cartoon animated videos, right?
Oh yeah.
And it was like 2 minutes long, but it was very. I learned a lot from that, right?
Right.
And it was a video where they had like the brain and they had the different senses and like the wire that went to the different parts of the brain.
Mhm.
And they said, as a child with autism, and they unplugged them, said they might cross and be, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, so it
Makes
as
sense.
weird as it sounds, that little cartoon gave me a really good understanding of, I think, what autism is, right?
Right.
So, and they also mentioned that children or people with autism, while they might lack in some senses, they are sometimes extraordinary in other areas, right?
Right.
And I know that to be a fact from the friends that I
you
have
Mhm.
who have kids with autism. So, what's Jaden's superpower? Because I call it superpower.
Right.
What's Jaden's superpower?
Electronics. That man can take apart anything and put it back together.
Mm,
We're in the process. Well, him and my uncle. It was my idea,
that's dope.
and he wanted to bond, and I couldn't hate. He wanted to mail
Right.
bond with my uncle. I
Right,
was like,
right, right, right.
I thought my idea was dope. My cousin gave me an idea. Her son, he's not autistic, but They built a computer.
Right.
And I was like, oh snap, me and Jay could do that. We can go to the store,
Right.
tell them what we want,
Right,
how
right,
we
we
want to do
good,
it.
right.
Me and him, mommy, son time. He had a whole different plan.
Yeah, that wasn't.
He
That
was
wasn't
like,
going on.
well, mom,
That wasn't going
you
on.
sure you want to do it? I was like, yeah, bro, we can do this. I got you. He was like, I think I should use this bonding time with my uncle. I
He
said,
was
my
crushed.
feelings are hurt. Like, I was devastated,
Right,
right?
right,
Like,
right.
I thought I had this big plan where me and him just gonna rock out. And he was like, I think we could bond. It's mail time. I was like, okay.
But a part of you had to feel really good that he
Relieved.
wanted that.
Right.
Right?
Now that's what it was. And so I was like, well, call your uncle. So needless to say, they went out, got haircuts, discussed what we're
Right.
gonna
That's-
do,
that's
and then
dope.
moved from there. So
That's dope.
my feelings was hurt, but I was glad that it was something that motivated him to even want to call to get out. Because
Absolutely.
my son has been out since last March of the pandemic 3 times to get his haircut.
And that's it.
And that's it. And then he just went out the 4th time this weekend, but they're going out next weekend.
Right. That's dope.
So
That's
me
dope.
giving that, if I can do anything to encourage him to get out, then I'm happy.
Right.
So the idea that I gave him, he was like, all right, mom, so we need to change my room around. I want
Oh,
this.
he wanna
I
go
want
all
that.
in
Oh,
after
he
that.
all in. So I was like, all right, well, he said, mommy, this your part. I said, what's my part? He said, the room. You decorate, you do. I said, oh, okay.
Right.
So he stuck me in the house.
Right.
While
Right.
they
Right.
all
Right.
riding around doing the fun
Yeah,
stuff.
they did the guy thing.
And they did the guy thing, the fun stuff.
That's pretty dope.
And they
though.
got me in the
That-
house, but I was
That's pretty
excited
dope.
for him.
That's
so.
pretty dope. So
Yeah.
let me ask you this. So, if we have parents watching who have kids with autism
Mhm.
and they struggle, with I don't know what to do. And I think you've given out some pretty good advice already,
Mhm.
right? If there are some tips, if there are some things they can jot down and to
Right.
help them with their day or help them in their life
Right.
with their children with autism, what are
Mhm.
some tips that you would give them?
I would say number 1, take a deep breath.
Okay,
Right.
that's big.
Take a deep breath and try not to overwhelm yourself. Right.
Okay,
We do a lot to overwhelm ourselves because we're like, oh, we should be doing this, you should be doing that. But we got to take a deep breath and learn each other.
right,
It's a learning process.
right.
If I move left and he moves right, then that means I need to move right because that's what he does.
Absolutely.
So the initial thing is to take a deep breath. If that child doesn't function how you think they should, it's okay. Y'all will get on the same page.
Absolutely.
So first thing would be
Absolutely.
take a deep breath. Number 2 would be to forgive yourself,
Mhm.
right? It's not your fault.
Right. Okay. I think that's big.
That's real big because
Yeah.
sometimes we think we did something.
Right.
No. They say, what is it? I might get it wrong, but everybody get what I'm saying. They say God gives the bigger battles to the stronger fighters.
It's the stronger soldiers.
Right.
Absolutely.
So God obviously felt like placing this child in your hands was a good
It'll be
thing,
all right.
right? You gonna get this.
Right.
So trust yourself and move forward. You
True.
know what I mean? Trust
True.
yourself
True.
to know that you got this. And then my third thing is listen to your child and watch them.
Okay.
A lot of the relationships
Can you
is
repeat?
understand.
Listen. That's huge.
Listen, yeah.
That's huge.
Listen, even in the verbal cues or even in the pointings and the grunts, listen to your child.
Because everything means something.
Everything means something.
Okay.
And if you can do those 3 things, I think you can kind of master everything else because those things cause you to step back and take and evaluate.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And this journey is about evaluation
Got you.
and cohesiveness.
Gotcha.
So if you're up here, oh my God, I can't. Well, what you think they doing? My son is literally my heartstrings. If I have a bad day, I could cry all day before he gets home from daycare or school. And I could clean myself up 2 hours prior to.
Right.
Do you know he will sit in my vehicle and say, Mom, I'm sorry you had a rough day.
Wow.
He's literally my heartstrings. He can feel
That's a
my
superpower
energy.
also.
Right. But a lot of them can.
That's dope.
They can feel us.
That's pretty
So
dope.
that's why I'm saying take a deep breath.
Right.
Forgive yourself. It's okay. It ain't you.
That's really dope.
Take all of that in and
That's
then
really
listen
dope.
to them. Because in you being calm, and opening your mind
it'll
and
calm
listening
them.
to them, it
Because they're
all
looking
comes
to you
together.
for answers.
Absolutely. And sometimes you gotta look to them for answers.
Right.
My son can tell you 10 different ways to accomplish what he need done. And I gotta say, slow down. Start that over. Because I feel
I ain't
like
get-
you
I ain't
trying to
getting all
hoodwink
this.
me. You talking fast.
Right.
Slow down. He's 10 steps ahead of me.
Yeah.
He didn't plan my day out and how he falls into it.
Wow.
So we have to listen.
Wow.
And it's okay to quote unquote not be the parent in the relationship. You have your times
I hope
to
y'all
pay the
taking
parent.
notes.
Yeah,
Hope
it's
y'all
time
taking
you're
notes.
always the parent. You know what I mean?
Right.
But in some situations when it pertains to them,
Yeah.
their physical, they eat, how they get dressed. My son gets dressed a particular way. At first I was like, come on, boy, just put your socks on, then your pants. And he would be like, I don't do. Okay, well, do it how you want to.
Right.
And it creates an independence,
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
And we take that, right? Because we're
Creates
used to the other
routine.
kids.
Right.
Right. He has his independence. And for me, I'm not going to cry, I promise. But him turning
cry.
15, for me, and him being where he is as far as very independent.
Right.
He's more vocal. When my daughter's friends come over, he's like, what's up? And they like, what's up?
Right.
And his deep little voice.
So he's getting there.
Yeah, so
Okay,
I
okay.
am feeling like my life is accomplished.
Like you just want to
If
cry
I
all
never
the time.
do right, if I
Right.
never do anything else in my life for me,
Right.
I feel like
good.
I've done my job somewhere.
That's dope.
And I'm watching him move and just be him every day. And
That's dope.
and it's love. It's just been a journey, and that's why Jay's house is here. I want parents to know it's some of the stuff that I'm saying parents have experienced.
Right.
And they
Right.
think it's
And they
not
may or
okay.
may not have known what was going on.
Right.
Right. So let
And
me
it's
ask you this.
cool.
So I see we have a couple things
Mhm.
right here, right?
Right.
Help me understand what are these things we have right here?
Okay, so in case people don't know, April is Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month.
Okay.
So Jay's House has been fundraising because our goal is to create programming. Now that we've experienced the pandemic, we want to try to create programming that people can see, whether it's on Zoom or Facebook, so that people can do the same. They can interact with us
Okay.
no matter where they are.
Okay.
So programming like art classes. We have a gentleman that should be starting art classes once or twice a month in May. We also are in talks about potential like a STEM class where it's things that the families can purchase, and we can put these things together.
Right. Right.
And so with the funds that we raise from the things that we sell that I make, that we can provide these different things.
Okay.
So what we have here is a mug that we make that's an acceptance mug,
Okay.
and keychains, and we have bracelets for the women,
All right.
and
Or
these are
the
just
men who
bags.
might want to wear a bracelet. I mean, you know.
Whoever wants to wear a
I'm just
bracelet.
saying, we're all inclusive here
And
at
these are
E
the
Square.
bags that comes in. Oh, and one more thing. So
Okay.
there's the puzzle piece came about, and it was a negative connotation
I'm
to
glad
it.
you said that because I was going to ask about the puzzle piece.
So a young lady posted and commented that they're trying to get away from the puzzle piece because it has this negative connotation and this, that, and the third. So I didn't initially respond, but I did post, and people should ask questions before you assume.
Right.
I knew the background, but what I am here to do is change the connotation for our kids, period, right?
What's the negative connotation about a puzzle piece?
So basically, if I read it correctly, I thought it was crazy that some kind of way the puzzle piece was a sign of despair, or, you know, it kind of
Okay.
set them apart. So what I thought was, okay, for Jay's house, it means that they are the missing link, right? They are that piece of the puzzle that brings everybody together,
Okay.
because that's what happens. When your child's autistic, your family flocks in. Like, what can we do?
Right.
They bring everybody together.
Right.
So for Jay's house, it's not a negative thing. It's everybody's a part of the puzzle, right? We all have our place. We all have our roles. But connected, we're powerful. We create a bigger image.
True.
It's not negative.
True.
So I just wanted people to know, if you've read that, we still celebrate with the puzzle piece because of that very reason.
Right.
We feel like all these puzzle pieces together, creating a bigger picture.
That makes sense.
Period.
That makes sense. So if the people out there want to, you know, purchase and support with this, or if they want to reach out to you or be a part of Jay's House, how do they contact you? How would they go about doing that?
We're on Facebook and Instagram at Jay's House Inc. And they can basically inbox or send a request to either one.
Okay.
The bracelets are 2 for $8. The keychains are $5 and the mugs are $12.
Okay.
Well, the 15 ounces are 12 and this is an 11, so it's 10. And they can just reach out if they want to be a part. If they inbox me as well, what we'll do is keep them abreast because we keep everything posted on our page.
Okay.
And we also send private email. I mean, some people want to know what is out there for their child.
Absolutely.
So we they can just inbox us. Somebody there to respond. It goes to our email. The team gets it. We respond within 24 hours or less sometimes.
Okay.
So they can just reach out to us.
Okay.
We're available.
All right. Well, listen, Monet, I want to thank you. Fire Nights Podcast. We want to thank you. I think this session was very, very, very informative. I think this is, you know, a lot of people are used to us at Fire Nights talking about sports and, you know, social issues, and that kind of thing. You know, we think that these things are important.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And we want to focus on and will focus on this and other kind of things. And, you know, this is huge. This is huge.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
Thank you
So-
for having me.
We appreciate you.
Shout out Jay's House one more time, please.
Please.
Yes. So it's Jay's House Inc. on Facebook and on Instagram. Oh, and I also want to thank, I don't know if she's watching, I told her to watch. I want to thank my sister,
What's up, sis?
Summer Love.
Summer love.
She's been the backbone of Jay's House with the social media. We have 19,360 followers.
Sheesh.
Faithful to us because of the work that she does.
Wowzer.
And I'm so appreciative for my little sister. I'm thankful for my assistant, although she doesn't want to call her that, Ernesta Corsi. I love you. Anytime I need anything, she's there.
Right.
She's there to listen. Shout out to her family, her son Prince. He's autistic as well as younger.
Okay.
Love you guys. And just thanks to anybody who supports my mom, my uncles, my family, period. And everyone out there that has supported us, whether they purchased, my friends that have purchased anything from us, and the future followers of Jay's House. We're here, and we believe our kids are not different. They're extraordinary, and we mean it.
Oh, don't start crying, man.
I'm not.
Come on,
I
man.
promise.
So listen, folks, on that note, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Again, we really, really appreciate Monet coming through. We're going to support Jay's House Incorporated, most definitely. 19,000 and how many followers?
19,360.
19,360
Oh, and
followers.
shirts are coming.
Shirts are coming. Shameless plug to those followers. Follow Fire Nights Podcast because we're going to touch on this kind of thing in the future. We're going to have Monet back because
and
we
we're taking
appreciate her.
donations, tell them.
She just told y'all they're taking donations. Reach out to her to figure out how that's going to
No
go.
amount is too small.
No amount.
Our
She
Cash
will be
App is
back.
on there.
She will be back.
I love
All right.
it.
She will be back. We appreciate you. Give it up for
Thank
Monet,
you
y'all.
again.
Give it up for Monet, y'all. We're going to take a 5-minute intermission. Fire Nights Podcast. We'll be right back.
Thank you, guys.
I appreciate you, man. That was dope, man.
That might be,
That was dope.
that might be one of the highest rated joints in the building.
That was dope. I appreciate that a lot, man.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome.
That was dope.
I lived in